Welcome at Radboud University, Nijmegen. It's my pleasure to give you a tour about the Bachelor program of Computing Science here in Nijmegen. My name is Peter Achter and I am the coordinator of the Bachelor program. It may come as no surprise if I tell you that if you look around you in society, in companies, in entertainment industry, that information technology is all around us and you can deploy information technology and computing science in any aspect you like. So how are we going to deal with this in the program? So computing science program at Radboud University is, like all bachelor programs, a 3-year program. So what sets Nijmegen apart from the other programs in the Netherlands is that we offer 3 tracks that are aligned with the research specializations here in Nijmegen. So the first one is cybersecurity. And in that regard, Nijmegen really has a unique position relative to the other programs. We have the top researchers that do their research in this area, and they also give you courses in this domain. Besides that, we have data science, and that's all about how to deal with enormous volumes of data and turn this data into information. And finally, we have software science, and it's all about understanding how software actually works. What does it mean? How can we be sure that it actually does what it was supposed to do? Can we create it in a smarter way? Now, with these specializations in the 3-year bachelor program, once you've done that, you will get a degree in computing science. So Nijmegen isn't the largest program in terms of number of students. It's also not the smallest, so we sit somewhere in the middle in terms of number of students. But it's my pleasure to say that it's a good program. It's not just my personal opinion, but in the Elsevier Best Studies of 2020, our program came out on top as the best program in the Netherlands in comparison with all the other programs in the Netherlands. So that makes us very proud. It also puts an obligation to us to keep up the high level of the program, but that's a challenge we're willing to accept. So in the next few slides, I'm going to give you a bit of a tour of the first year and give you a bit of an idea what you can encounter, what computing science is about. So when you say to somebody, oh, I'm interested in doing computing science, and then people typically say, oh, then you're going to do a lot of programming. And yes, you will be doing programming, but programming is not the entire picture. So here, Drew Houston, in an interview, he's the creator of Dropbox, tries to explain what's so cool about programming. So in programming, you are really only limited by your imagination in the things that you can create, that you can make your computer actually do, or a network of computers, how they can do things for you. And in that sense, it's really like a superpower. But programming is, like I said, it's not the only thing we teach you. Another really important aspect is mathematics, and one particular branch of mathematics, which is called logic. So logic is all about how do you reason in a good way, in a proper way, about things, about the world, about properties. So here we've got an image of the lecturer, Engelbert Hubbers, who will be teaching you this in the first year. So what do we deploy logic for? So logic is used to understand the basic principles of software. So if you write a small piece of code, what does it actually mean? What can you expect it to do? We use logic to show that if you have a problem that you want to be solved and you wrote a program that supposedly solves the problem, how can you actually prove that this program solves the problem that you were trying to solve in the first place? We use logic for that. And finally, even more interesting perhaps, is that we can build systems, software systems, that reason like humans do, again, using logic. So there's a quote by Penny Avril, who's vice president of Oracle, who tries to explain this, that not just programming itself and the ability to use programming languages, but the fact that you can reason about that on a higher level of abstraction using logic, that's the key tool to help you build these systems. In the end of the first year, you end with a research and development project in which you collaborate with fellow students in a team and you build an app for a smartphone from scratch. So you design it, you build it, you test it, you demonstrate it, and in the end you give a presentation. And this is also to show that being a computer scientist is not just solo work. It's also being able to work in a team and to collaborate and consult each other. So the remaining courses of this first year, they will give you very broad foundation that's suitable for the remainder of the program, so for years 2 and 3. And I could go on for hours about all of these courses. I'm not going to do that. Just very briefly, so we've got courses on what's the inside of a computer, how does it actually work, so the processor course. We delve into artificial intelligence. We look at the more mathematical side of the theory of computing with automata formal languages. We have an introductory course on security. We look at the data science part with the modeling and databases course. We give some fundamental mathematical skills with calculus and probability. And finally, requirements engineering, if it's a very typical computing science course that goes about how, if you're going to talk with a customer, how can you extract the requirements that a software product should solve for that customer to solve his or her problems. So in this first year, you will get a good foundation for the remainder of the program. And people always ask, okay, so how much time do I typically spend during the studies? Is this a program that will cost me a lot of hours? So here I've got an excerpt, a very representative excerpt of the first year, second quarter. So we've got the days, Monday up until Friday. It starts at 8:30, ends at 5:30 latest. And as you can see, the program is, well, it's decently filled. So the dark blue entities are lectures, the lighter blue lectures are tutorials. We've got lab sessions in red. But there's also plenty of space in between the program for self-study or other activities. And from our students, we know that they typically spend somewhere between 25 and 35 hours per week on their studies. But you're not on your own. So you've got your fellow students, but besides that, we have a team of people to help you. And one thing, I'm going to highlight it immediately, is that we have mentor teams, so that those are professors giving you the real lectures, and to these professors, a number of students, typically ranging between 6 to 8 students, and they meet 6 times a year, and we discuss things like, how are your studies going? Do you face certain problems? How do your fellow students solve them? And we give you some advice, what's to be expected in the upcoming weeks of the program. And this is really very helpful because you will get to know your fellow students even better than you do otherwise. So besides these mentor meetings, we also have a team of study advisors, and they can help you with issues that are more non-course related. And finally, we've got a tutor. The tutor is actually a lecturer from high school, so he knows exactly what it is that you have been learning, and he can help you with the transition from high school to university. And he will organize tutorials or meetups, and which he can help you with things that you encounter with these courses that you're following. Finally, in the first semester, we've got a diagnostic mathematics test, and that's mostly intended to just to check for yourself to see if your level of math is on par with the level that we expect it is. Please note, it's just a diagnostic test, so it's not a pass-fail test or something like that. If you happen to score low on this test, we will give you some additional material to practice with, and you can do a resit and check if you actually improved on the material. So all of this first year is targeted to, basically obtain all the courses. And in the end, you will get a binding study recommendation, Bindend Studie Advies. Again, this is what all universities in the Netherlands do, so Nijmegen is no exception. Again, to the big picture, so you've got the entire bachelor program, which is 180 EC, and that basically means that every study year you can get 60 EC on courses. And in the first year, we have a threshold of 39 EC of these 60 EC that you need to pass in order to obtain this positive study advice recommendation. If you get a negative recommendation, you cannot continue with your study. So how well do we do with these study recommendations? So here are the numbers of 2017-2018. And as you can see, 3/4 of the students get a positive advice, which is also very representative for the numbers in the years before that. Of the other quarter of students, approximately half had already stopped studying before they got the study advice, and the other half got a negative advice. You can also see that there were 2 deferred cases in which we knew about special circumstances of the particular student, so we basically deferred the decision of giving a study advice. So please note, personal circumstances will always be taken into account. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the first year. In the second and third year, you can customize the program to suit your own interests. You can do that by choosing 3 electives. You can do that by choosing a minor program. And here are a number of the most popular ones. So artificial intelligence is one that a lot of our students do. Mathematics, another one, but also management science. So if you're more interested in the business aspect of computing science. Like I said before, we have the 3 specialization tracks: cybersecurity, data science, and software science. They actually prepare or give you a good idea of what it would be like to do these in the master program. So a number of students choose, when they have the bachelor degree, choose to move on to industry. Those are not a lot. The vast majority of students will pursue a master either in Nijmegen or elsewhere in the Netherlands or even abroad. And again, like I said, the specialization programs in the bachelor program give you an idea what it would be like to do the master programs. So in that sense, you can already get a good idea. Okay, so is this master program interesting for me? Okay, just to give you a bit more an idea of these specializations. So we ask you to choose at least 2 of the 3 specializations. But please note, it's also possible to do all of them and become a true all-round computer scientist. You can use your 3 electives room for that. So like I said in the introduction, we've got the specialization of security of systems. And that's really all about how can we ensure that our computer systems, our networks, all our IT infrastructure is safe and cannot be broken by parties that should not gain access to private, sensitive or other data in the first place. And like I said in the beginning, we have top researchers in this domain, and they can carry their insights into their lectures when you follow these courses. So the second one is the data science specialization, and that's mostly about how to turn enormous volumes of data into information. Because if you only have data, but you don't know what you're looking for, or you don't know how to get the information out of that data, it's in a sense useless. So you can't get the information out of it. So how do you do that? What are the techniques? How can you store these massive amounts of data? So all these things you learn about in the data science specialization. And finally, we've got the software science specialization, and that's all about how to build software systems in a reliable way. How can we understand what these software systems do? Can we invent better programming languages than the ones that we are used to? Can we construct programs in a better way than we are used to? And thus improve the quality of software overall. Another thing that we are quite proud of that we have in Nijmegen is Giphouse. And Giphouse is actually a software company run by students, and they solve real projects for real customers. So the students do the project acquisition at real companies and ask, what's the software problem that you have, and we can solve it for you. And this is very nice because you will collaborate with fellow bachelor students, but also with master students in these projects. And we do this for quite a long time now, already 25 years. And just to give you an idea of some projects that have been done in the past. So fairly recently, a student team has created automatic photo album for Resnap. And this is actually being used commercially already at Resnap, and Resnap is now part of Elsevier. For Capgemini, a student team created an app for carpooling, so to reduce traffic. And yet another team created a 3D imaging of sound to optimize sound level for the company Sawama. So this just gives you an idea that the variety of projects that you can work on is quite diverse, like in real life. So what's it like to be a student in Nijmegen? So we are very happy that here in Nijmegen we have a very active study association, Thalia, and they organize really a lot of activities for you as students, but they also give you discounts on books and have tons of information for you if you have questions about your studies. Besides our study association, Nijmegen has a lot of student associations, so those are independent from studies that you can join in, but you can also join in a lot of sports events, music societies. You can even do a religious association. And while we are computer scientists after all, there's even an e-gaming association that you can participate in and do real e-gaming online. If you like to go abroad during your studies, then that can also be done. Typically, that's something you would do in your third year. You can spend a semester or a quarter at another university. You can decide to do your bachelor thesis or your internship abroad. That also happens quite a lot. Thalia, the study organization, organizes a study trip every year. You can participate in that. Now suppose you are doing the studies and you notice, okay, everything's going very well. I would like to have some extra challenges. Well, that's possible as well. So at Nijmegen, we have basically two programs in which you collaborate with students from other studies as well. So on the one hand, we have the Radboud Honors Academy, in which you collaborate with students of the science faculty, and you do this in year 2 and year 3. And on the other hand, we have the Radboud Honors Program, in which you collaborate with students from all of the faculties of the Radboud University, again in year 2 and year 3. And this will really broaden up your view on what it's like to be a scientist, not just for computer science, but also for other programs. Finally, if you're hesitating between choosing mathematics or computing science, because you basically like them both, that's also doable, and then you roll up for a double Bachelor of Computer Science and Mathematics. Please note that the mathematics program is taught in Dutch only, and the computing science program is taught in English only. And the way it works basically is that we've got the two programs of computing science and mathematics. We basically filled up the 3 electives and the minors with each other's components, and in that way, by doing that particular program, you can do both of them with an extra effort, of course. So you have to spend 225 EC instead of 180. But you will get 2 separate degrees, one in computing science and one in mathematics. People always ask, okay, so what can I do? What do I become when I have this bachelor degree or this master degree in computing science? And my answer actually always is, well, anything you like. Because like I said in the introduction, if you look around you, you will find IT and IT solutions anywhere you look. You can always find a way to deploy your knowledge in your area of interest. So my advice is always follow your heart, follow your interest, and you will be fine. Here are just a couple of examples of alumni of our program. And as you can see, if you look, they come up in the end with very diverse situations. They start their own company, they work with one of the most important companies in the Netherlands, ASML, become researchers, and so on and so forth. And finally, I would like to debunk the myth that computing science is only suited for boys. That's really absolutely not true. It is a fact indeed that not a lot of female students do computing science in the Netherlands, but we really like to change that. So in Nijmegen we spent a lot of effort to attract the top female researchers as professors, as researchers in our program, and you will get courses from them. And here are just a number of images of my fellow colleagues at Computing Science in Nijmegen. And in 2017, the Computing Science program in Nijmegen was awarded with the Minerva Award, which is an European award for our effort in attracting more female professionals and female students into computing science. So we're very proud of that. Finally, if you would like to get more information, so one thing that's really useful if you would like to get more inside information, there's this thing called Unibuddy, in which you can chat with one of our students. But if you would like to see what other activities we organize to get more information about the program, what it's like to be a student here in Nijmegen, please check this website. And for more general information about what it's like to be a student in Nijmegen and what it's like to be at Radboud University in Nijmegen, please follow the links below. Finally, if you would like to have more dedicated questions or other things you would like to know about, you can send an email to this address for further information. So with this, I come to the end of this presentation, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.